Okay, I hope you people are hearing me, right? So last classes we discussed about so much of things, right? Can you hear me? Rishma, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Because these days are rainy days, so sometimes you would not have a nice coverage. So last classes we discussed about so much of things, and we discussed about um, the elements and the compounds. There are two types of compounds, and the biomolecules, and there are four types of biomolecules, and the carbohydrate, lipid, protein, and nucleic acid. And also we were discussing about um, carbohydrate, three types monosaccharide, disaccharide, and a polysaccharide. At the same time, we looked at um, um, monosaccharide types and the disaccharide types and the polysaccharide types. And also, we looked at protein, lipids, and nucleic acid. Now we came here, right? So here, Aisha, can you hear me? Aisha?
Yes, sir. Now can hear.
Okay. Okay. We were discussing about last classes nucleic acid. The nucleic acid, if you come to nucleic acid, the nucleic acid, the very important, most important biomolecule, and there are two types of nucleic acid. Those are RNA and DNA, that is DNA and the RNA. Right? Some people may have thought this one. It is not in the syllabus that I was talking about that late. I was talking about that late last classes. But everything you should know that one when you're talking about the grade 10 chapter number 1 and grade 10 chapter number 6 and the grade 10 chapter number 20 and everything which is will be related to these kind of things. That's why I have we taught so much of things. So there are two types of nucleic acid, and that is deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA, and the ribonucleic acid, and that is RNA. Right? So the basic structural unit of DNA is deoxyribonucleotide, nucleotide, and the basic structural unit of RNA is ribonucleotide. So, but commonly you can say that what is the basic structural unit of nucleic acid? You can say nucleotide. The nucleotide contains mainly the three main components. This is 5-carbon pentose sugar and the phosphate group and the nitrogenous base. This is the basic structure of this is the basic structure of nucleic acid. And this 5-carbon, this ring is called pentose sugar. This is nucleotide altogether, nucleotide, and this is pentose sugar. Some people are not interested to coming or attending classes. I don't know why. Okay, this is very important part. Right, pentose sugar. And there are two types of pentose sugar, ribose sugar, sorry, deoxyribose sugar, I can say, deoxyribose sugar, and ribose sugar. The basic structural unit of this deoxyribonucleotide of RNA would contain same as like nucleotide, and it would have a phosphate group, and there would be a nitrogenous base. And there are five types of nitrogenous base: adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, and uracil. Here you can find deoxyribonucleotide. It could be A, T, or T, or C, or G you can find. And this sugar is called deoxyribose sugar. This sugar is called deoxyribose sugar. And all together, you can say this is a deoxyribonucleotide. And when these deoxyribonucleotide connect and forms DNA. So at the same time, if I draw here ribonucleotide, this would have a 5 carbon sugar. This is a pentose sugar. What type of pentose sugar? Ribose sugar. Ribose sugar. And also this is the one is phosphate group, and this is nitrogenous bases. And these nitrogenous bases, look at this one, there can be A, or it could be T is not present. Instead of T, U, C, or G. And this is called now altogether called ribonucleotide. When the ribonucleotide connect together and forms DNA, and this is how it's happening simply about these nucleotides, right? So simply I can say here, when this is connection, and if it's a DNA, for example, number of every this spear shape, this is the one, everything is deoxyribose sugar. Sorry, not ribose sugar,
Ribonucleotide.
nucleotide. And if it's an RNA, every spear shape would be, this is RNA, this is ribonucleotide. One is one ribonucleotide, right? So this is what you have to know. The basic structural unit of DNA is the deoxyribonucleotide, and the basic structural unit of RNA, and that is ribonucleotide. Now I'm going to talk about something different about this DNA now. So look now, this is a DNA. So DNA, and if you look at this one, the collection of DNA, if it's a deoxyribonucleotide, and one nucleotide, another nucleotide, deoxyribonucleotide, another deoxyribonucleotide, another deoxyribonucleotide, and the lots of deoxyribonucleotide collect and connection together and forms what? DNA. At the same time, the basic structural unit of RNA is ribonucleotide, and those ribonucleotide which is connecting together, this is one ribonucleotide, another ribonucleotide, another ribonucleotide, and another ribonucleotide. Not only four, it would be millions or trillions, right? So we can collect that, and the collection of these ribonucleotide will connect that one and forms DNA. So which means simply I can say when the amino acid connect together and forms protein, something like that, the deoxyribonucleotide forms connect together and forms DNA, and ribonucleotide connects together and forms what? Actually RNA. So this is how it's happening now. So then now we're going to talk about these, the DNA structure. So in your book, you may have seen a simple picture. Now, if you look at this one, and this is the double helix structure of DNA. DNA is a very much double helix structure. Something like this. I couldn't. I'm really sorry. Wait. It looks like a double helix structure. In double helix structure, you can find these every nucleotides, ribonucleotide, deoxyribonucleotide. And these green colors are what? Deoxyribonucleotide. So these are, every green color is what? The deoxyribonucleotide. Simply if I zoom it, if you take this one, if it's a 1, the order of this one, deoxyribonucleotide. Now here, wait, I can use the big color, then you can easily identify. What the hell? Someone is trying this. Okay, now I can find that guy. Now here look at this one. One nucleotide, another nucleotide, another nucleotide. And you can see here another nucleotide, sorry, deoxyribonucleotide, deoxyribonucleotide. And here you can find that DNA is a double helix structure, which means double helix structure, double strand structure. And here the order of this one, which means that the order of deoxyribonucleotide is called what? Gene. Here the only thing was the order of deoxyribonucleotide in gene, in DNA, right? So you will be studying the grade 11, grade 10, chapter number 6. 6 because we'll be talking about the mitosis and meiosis, right? In that point, we'll be studying more about these things, right? But here, just remember that the order of this one, the the order of this deoxyribonucleotide is gene. For example, you will have, for example, uh, you know that 1, 2, 3, there are 3 numbers. So in this order, you can create 123. And if you bring it 2 and 2, 1, 3, and you can bring it 3, 2, 1, and 3, 1, 2. Something like that. You can take the order and you can change that order. If you bring it 3 here, then if one comes down, then it will be, the order will be changed. For example, if 1, 2, 3 is the responsible gene for your straight hairs, you know, in your commonly in human, there are different types of hairs types, straight hairs, curly hairs, or different types, or something like that. So if this is a gene which is responsible for the shape of your hair, then if Allah wants to, it means if Almighty wants to change that gene order, that means if you become a straight, become a curly, or curly has a straight has a matormunda. Let straight has a curly has a matormunda. And he will change the gene, which means 1, 2, 3, which is responsible if it's in a straight hair. And he will change something like that, 3, 2, 1. And remember, just saying that, and it would be what? Now the curly hairs. Which means the order, when the order of this deoxyribonucleotide changes, the order of this deoxyribonucleotide changes, the gene would also changes. It's all about gene, right? It's all about gene. So everything which is related with gene. So it's a nice topic, but here I can't talk too much because it's a different chapter. The grade 10, chapter number 6 and 22, 20 would be very much better place to talk about those things, right? So I will talk later about those things. So I'm stopping here, then let's move to notes. Right. So now look at this one. This is a picture of this one, common nucleotide. The common nucleotide structure is made up by 3 components. That is pentose sugar group, phosphate group, and the nitrogenous group. And there are 5 types of nitrogenous. And I didn't give this nitrogenous here, right? Because if you come to this, your book, if you come to this, your book, if you look at this book, I'll show here. They have given only something like A, B, C, G in DNA strand. Here, see, this is the one. If you look at this one in your book and in the DNA picture, this is the structure of DNA molecule. In that molecule, they have given this yellow color is adenine, and they have given a T here, thymine, and C here, this is cytosine, and G is guanine. But they didn't talk about this deoxyribonucleotide. But here they have talked about deoxyribonucleotide, but they didn't talk about the structure. But they have given a common structure. So because of they have given that one, so because of that reason only, I was talking about too much about these things. Otherwise, it's not needed, right? Okay. So now here, if you come to this now, so it is contains 3 main parts. What is pentose sugar, nitrogenous base, and phosphate group. And deoxyribonucleotide, there are 2 types of nucleic acid. One is DNA, which means deoxyribonucleic acid. And the basic structural unit is deoxyribonucleotide. If you look at this structure, I have given some things. So this is 5 carbon group. It's a type of pentose group, right? It's a type of pentose group. Pentose group. Look at this one. This is a pentose group. So this carbon, this carbon, this sugar, this is what the pentagon, and this pentagon shape is a deoxyribose sugar, and it has a phosphate group, and this is nitrogenous base. And what are the nitrogenous base you can find here? That is the reason because bookல உங்களுக்கு அந்த கலர்ல ATCG ன்னு தந்திக்கிறதால தான் நீங்க தந்திங்க. Sometime in your class or in your book or in your school இதெல்லாம் தேவையில்லாத தந்திரிக்காரங்க சொல்லுவாங்க because of that reason only. So I have given because it is needed. It's really needed. So there are 4 types of nitrogenous base can be found in deoxyribonucleotide ATCG, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. So these 4 types, and if it is present A and T, it can be formed 4 different types of deoxyribonucleotide, because if it's have A, and that would be 1 nucleotide, deoxyribonucleotide, and if it's a T, if it's a T present, another type of deoxyribonucleotide. If it's present C, and another type of deoxyribonucleotide. If it's present the G, that means guanine, and another type of deoxyribonucleotide, right? And also, if you come to these, what are the functions of this DNA? The basic structure or the basic function, if they ask what is the main function of this DNA, we will be talking about the significance or the functions of this nucleic acid. But here, if they ask the function of this nucleic acid, store and transfer genetic material from one generation to another generation, which means it's all about it stores genetic material. Genetic materials means, for example, your hairs, I'm talking again hairs, உங்களோட தலைமுடி இருக்கு. உங்களோட தலைமுடி, for example, your straight hairs இருக்கு. Straight hairs in the silly, it's a coding, it's a type of software coding. I can't talk too much because I don't know whether you can understand or not. I can talk very much deeply about this, the gene concept and genetic, because I like this chapter, right? So if you come to this one genetic, which means what a talamudi, straight hairs are, curly hairs are silly, in where you can find that, what a cells chromosomes DNA deoxyribonucleotide order gene இருக்கு. For example, some people are very much fair, some people are very much normal color, and some people are very much dark or normal dark, right? So everyone are different types of different colors. So இப்படி different colors different ஆக இருந்தாங்கன்னு சொன்னா என்ன நடக்கும்னு சொன்னா, what is the reason? Because in that body, that software making, software means Almighty would have different types of colors. So அந்த ஜீன்ல அந்த ஆர்டர் இருக்கு. அந்த ஆர்டர் இருந்தா, who is asking this Mifa? Who is that? Wait a minute. Okay, so look that if you come to when you come to this order, the gene order, when changes this order, then what happens actually? What a color mark, for example, a gene order something like fair color and the fair color or gene one deoxyribonucleotide would change because of the change of this one deoxyribonucleotide. Because of the change of this one deoxyribonucleotide, and you would become a different color person. Because what is the molecule which is responsible for our color in our body? Tell me. Which is the responsible molecule for our color.
Melanin.
Melanin, very good. Someone is trying to move my. I don't know what is happening. God. So now this is one, two, three, four, something like that. There are four nucleotides. In the four nucleotides, if I, for example, I cannot be, but I've just taken an example. It is a one gene. And this one gene is responsible in the gene responsible for your color. Color, understand now? In the gene, la mara. When the order changes, your color will be changed. The order will be changed, your color will be changed. Or if this gene is responsible for your height, height in the responsible and in the gene height responsible and when the color, the number, the coding, the software, the order of the gene changes, the height would also change. So it's all about what? Everything is stored in your body, the cells inside cell. Inside cell, there is a nucleus. Nucleus means carry. Inside nucleus, there is a chromosome. Chromosome means niramutam. Inside chromosome, there is a DNA. Inside DNA, you can find the order of this deoxyribonucleotide. And the order of nucleotide is called gene. When the gene change, only your characters and everything will be changed. So the function of this DNA is stores and transfer genetic material. So storing genetic material and transferring genetic material from one person to another person. For example, you know that you people are born from your mother and fathers, and you may be something like you look like, or maybe you may have a nice good characters of this your dad and a mom. So a mom or dad மாதிரி உங்களுக்கு நிறைய characters இருக்கும். So because why it came? Because it is transferred from one person to another person, which means your mom, so from your parents, you got that characteristics because the genetic material changes. Genetic material is transferred from your parents to you people, right? So that's the reason here you have a nice characteristics of your mom and dad or something like that. Your ummamada character something vandirukkum. So ummamada character eppadi vandirukkum? Ummamada character vaapakku vandirukkum. Vaapavil உங்களுக்கு வந்திருக்கும். So sometime வேறு உம்மோட வாப்பட ஒரு character நமக்கு வந்திருக்கும். Something we don't know. So it's really tough to understand when you're talking about the best unit time, it's really tough to understand. But I will talk this in when we study the mitosis and meiosis and everything. So what is that actually? You can easily remember. You can easily katapada. Katapada means what? Remember pannalam easy avங்களுக்கு. I am not talking about these. That's kind of studies. I'm talking about this one, what is inside science. You can easily store and transfer genetic material, store and transfer genetic material. That's all. That's what I'm talking here. It's all about what is science inside, but you need time to understand this one. We will talk but later. If you don't understand, don't worry. Second one. The second one is RNA. RNA is a ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid. The basic structural unit of RNA is ribonucleotide. So as we were talking about that, this is ribose sugar and this is phosphate group and this is nitrogenous base. And here you can't see here A, T. T is absent and which is present, U is present. So R and U is present. Simply you remember that T is absent, U is present in RNA. So in RNA, in nitrogenous base, what are the nitrogenous base which is present? Adenine, uracil, cytosine, and guanine. Here also, four types of ribonucleotide can be produced of four. Here when I'm talking about this RNA, So we will be talking about the protein synthesis. It is being used for protein synthesis. The protein synthesis, right? It is being used for protein synthesis. Okay, to produce photosynthesis, what is needed? Can you tell? Produce produce protein. What is needed?
Sunlight.
Now I'm talking about photosynthesis. I'm not talking about photosynthesis. I'm talking about this protein. To produce protein, what is needed? Simple question. Tell me.
Amino acid.
Amino acid. Amino acid. So when collection of this amino acid changes or the combines, and the protein will be formed. But what is the reason why I am talking here? RNA would be the very much important person or very much is responsible for protein synthesis. For example, you know that if I talk, you take one amino acid here, you take one amino acid here, the collection of amino acid and taking this amino acid. And these amino acid combine and form protein. To form these protein synthesis, the RNA, it helps. RNA helps for that. What type of RNA will be? There are lots of type of RNA and different types of RNA you can be found. That is rRNA. It will be taught in A level. tRNA. There are three types of RNA and mRNA. And if when I talk this RNA, now I'm going to talk about this virus now, the corona, the COVID-19. This COVID-19 inside, the virus can be only the protein and the fiber, lipid layer and the protein. This is protein. And this is lipid layer. Inside, in virus, you can find only DNA or you can find on RNA. The COVID-19, the coronavirus, is a type of RNA virus, which means it does not have DNA. The problem is that, right? The problem is that. You know that, remember very much carefully, this RNA. RNA is a single strand structure, not like DNA. So RNA, if I zoom in this RNA, you will have a chain of this RNA. Remember very much carefully. And every chain, the basic structural unit, the green color which I am drawing now, that is a ribonucleotide. And when it reproduces, this guy, the COVID-19 RNA virus, when it reproduces, it mutates. The term you can remember, you should remember, it mutate means it changes the chain of this or order of this ribonucleotide. Which means when it produces new person, when it reproduce, it mutate. Because of the mutation, the RNA, the deoxyribonucleotide chain changes. That's why people are talking about UK new virus or new variants, new strain. They are talking about new terms, new strains. And this is strain. Normally, if this virus does not mutate, which means when it produces new person, if it's not mutate, then you can produce easily the vaccines. But when it mutate all the times, it's tough. This link will expire by 1 minute. We'll go to another link. No problem. So when it mutates, this ribonucleotide change, the way the chain, new chain is produced. Because of that, they are saying a new type of virus of COVID-19. Because in that RNA, the series of this ribonucleotide changes, right? We'll talk that next session. Let's move on.